My name is Lina and it's knitting time. Like I said, my name is Lina. I live in Sweden with my partner Simon and our daughter Iris. I feel like it's been a while. I don't know if it actually has, but it feels like it's been a while. I have some knitting to show you and I thought we would just get to it. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is what I'm wearing. This is my finally finished, this is just like a summer edition of the Felix pullover by Savory Knitting, which is my favorite pattern. I've knit like 5 of those now, but I did some modifications to it. Basically what I did is that I removed the lace pattern that's usually going along the raglan because, like I said, I've knit the sweater a lot of times and I feel like I needed a little bit of variation, and I only have one sweater apart from this that's like a summery yarn, and that's also a Felix pullover, but that one has the lace pattern, so I thought I would make this one without it so that they are at least a little bit different. So that's what I did, but I kept like the increase rates and all of that stuff. I just did a 2-stitch raglan instead of a lace pattern, and this is very cropped like all my sweaters. And yeah, I love the pattern. I feel like the Felix is the only pattern I've ever found that I don't have to modify the sleeve decreases on. I just knit it and it fits me, which is nice. I like a fitted sleeve, and I feel like this is the only pattern I've found that has that. Is this a broken thread? Or do I just need to pop this on the other side? This is scary. There's like a thread here. I'm looking at it now and I feel like I just need to put that on the other side of the sweater. I'll do that later. I haven't blocked this actually. So my ends are, I did weave in the ends. I haven't like snipped them off. I usually just leave a little bit. And I haven't blocked it because my experience with this kind of yarn is that it grows a lot. And I knit this in 1 strand of Sandnes garn line, which is my hate yarn. I really do not like working with it, but I do like the finished product. Like, yeah, it's a hate-love relationship. I hate the process. I love the project. But it's knit up with 1 strand of Sandnes garn line and 1 strand of Knitting for Olives pure silk. I can't remember the colors, so I'll put all of that information in the description. And yeah, this has been one of those projects that I really had to push myself to finish because I was not enjoying knitting on it and I just wanted the sweater. I didn't want to make it. I just wanted it to be done. So I decided, like, you're not allowed to bring anything else to knit night until you have finished this sweater. Finally got it done and I'm so happy about it. But yeah, I didn't block this because, like I said, I feel like the linen usually grows a lot. The other sweater that I have that it's like a summer yarn is also like a cotton linen blend, and that has grown so much. Like, it started out with this kind of neckline and now it's almost like dropping off one of my shoulders. So I haven't blocked this because I don't want to put any extra stress on it when it comes to growing, because I really like the fit right now. I might just go over and do like a little steam block to like relax the yarn and even it out a little bit, but we'll see. I really like it now and I'm already using it even though it's not blocked, so I might just not block it. I can't remember the needle size I used for this. Did I do a 3 or a 4 millimeter? I am not sure. I am sure I could have been more organized and like found these things out before I sat down. I didn't. So I knit this on a 3 millimeter needle. I knit the size 48 inches. And yeah, I used 2.5 millimeter needle for the ribbing. And then I just bound off like I usually do with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. I really like it. And yeah, it's very cropped. I don't know if I can show you. I don't know if I've told you this. Have I told you this? Maybe not. But yeah, we got a little baby bump going on. We're having another child in October. So that's very exciting. I don't know if I've told you that. I don't think I have. Maybe not. So all of my cropped sweaters are gonna stay because they work perfectly with a baby bump. So yeah, this is what it looks like. It's very, very cropped. I am too lazy to do like a regular cutaway. And also, I usually film this with, like, I film on my phone, but I have an external microphone, and then I use like a selfie stick as a tripod. But I cannot find the part of the selfie stick that like actually holds my phone. Iris plays with it, so it's probably somewhere, but I just couldn't find it. So I have like built a tripod today to hold you, and I don't think I could manage like a real cutaway in a different location. So that's what you get. A very cropped, summery sweater. It's not very summery though because it is black, but black works very nicely with my like summer wardrobe. And I have a black cardigan that I didn't make myself. I bought it at a store a million years ago. But I do have that black cardigan, and I wear that so much during the summer. So I thought a black sweater would fit my wardrobe nicely. And the other summer sweater that I have is like light beige. So they complement each other. Moving on. The next finished object that I have is my own design. Oh my god, I am so excited about this to be finished. This is the first ever self-drafted sweater that I made, and I am writing up the pattern. I'm working with a tech editor, and it all feels very official. But I will try to get this pattern published. That would be like a dream of mine, to have like a sweater pattern that I made published. A little bit scared about finding testers for it because like most designers, they do a test call on like Instagram. I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram because I'm not very like active. Instagram is not really my social media. I love watching other people's posts and stuff, but I'm not really, I don't feel like it comes naturally to me to like maintain my own Instagram. So I don't have a lot of followers. So I feel like finding testers is going to be a challenge. So I thought that if I ever get to that stage, I will also tell you about the test call, because I do have a lot of more subscribers here than I do followers on Instagram, and I do have a lot of knitting friends I'll ask, and I'll post in like a knitting group that I have to see if anybody's interested. But we'll see. My hope is, the goal is to like publish this pattern. But yeah, this is the sweater. I do have a name that my sister helped me come up with. I'm not gonna tell you yet because I'm not like 200% sure that's the name. So I'm gonna keep it to myself for a little bit longer. But yeah, it is this, and this is very cropped. Hopefully, I feel like I'm all over the place today when I'm talking to you. This sample is very cropped, as is all of my sweaters basically. But my goal is for the pattern to include a full-length version as well, because I do know that the very super cropped sweater is not everybody's cup of tea. But yeah, this is what it looks like. It's knit in reversed stockinette with this big raglan that goes into the collar. And on the back, it has a button band that also goes into the collar. So this is what it looks like. I do have, I think, some pictures of me wearing this. So I will pop them on the screen so you can see. But here it is. I am so happy about this. In the pattern though, I did move the buttons, like I increased the space between the buttons a tiny bit so that this button, the last one, ends up a little bit closer to the edge of the sweater. I did change that when I wrote the pattern. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. This is the first sweater I ever self-drafted, which feels like a big deal. It also feels like it's opened a gate in my head of self-drafting, which we'll get to later. I talked about this in the last episode, and I'll probably talk more about it in future episodes if there will ever be like a test call or a pattern release. But here it is in all its beautiful glory. This is knit in 2 strands. 1 strand of Knitting for Olives merino held together with 1 strand of Alpaca 1 from Isager. And you could easily swap that out for like a mohair or whatever fingering plus lace weight you want, or like a DK weight or whatever. And you could definitely play around with like the colors, and you could play around with the buttons, do like a little discreet fancy thing, or do like real statement. Yeah, I really like this. It has been too warm here, so I haven't worn it yet like for a full day because it's summer and this is a wool sweater. So it's too warm, but I am very excited about it. I think those are my only like finished objects. I do have this one that I could show you a little bit of. This is a sweater that you've seen before. I finished this a long time ago. It's been one of my favorite sweaters, but every time I reach for it, I feel like it has been too short. I reach for it in my wardrobe and I'm like, oh, if this sweater was just a little bit longer, would have been perfect. So what I did one night is that I just undid my bind off, I frogged the ribbing, and I added some length. Finally, and after I did that, I have, as soon as the weather has been like allowing me to wear wool, I have reached for this sweater because I love it. This is also the, this is basically the, excuse me. This is basically the exact same sweater as the one I'm wearing, but in wool, because it's also based on the Felix pullover. I didn't do the folded collar on this one. I followed the pattern, but on this I added a folded collar because I love it. But I removed the lace pattern on this as well. I've talked about this before, so I'm not really going to talk about it a lot. It's knit up in Oland's Aran. What was the yarn called? Unfortunately, they're not doing yarn anymore, but Olan Aran Organic Aran or something like that. The color was an industrial, and I love this sweater so much. I haven't blocked it since I added the length, so you can easily see that I added like that much. Also what I did, and I think this is a thing that I will do in the future with my cropped sweaters, is that I did a few short rows at the bottom of the back to make the back section a little bit longer, because what I find with my cropped sweaters is that they usually end up going like this, so that like this is the back and this is my stomach. They end up like that, so that the back is shorter, and I don't really know why. There's probably an explanation that I don't understand, because I knit them to the same length, and I do have my boobs in front, so I would think it would be the other way around because the boobs take up fabric, but apparently it's not what's happening, because all of my cropped sweaters are doing that little thing. So I actually did to this one, when I added length, I added like 2 centimeters to the front and maybe 4 centimeters to the back, or like 3. I don't know. I did a few short rows in the back to make it longer. And now it fits me so nicely, and I should just block it because it does look a little bit messy at the bottom now. So I should give it a re-block, but that's also something that I did. And when it comes to these kinds of things, I find like it takes me so long to like get around to it, but when I finally do, I'm so happy that I did it. So I don't know why I put these things off because I do have another sweater that I feel like I should lengthen because it is too short. And I'm not wearing it because it's too short. Because every time I'm like, oh, I want to wear this one. I'm like, should have been longer. So maybe I should just take the time to fix that one as well. Because we do spend a lot of money and a lot of time like creating these things. So if they're not perfect, I mean, they're never going to be perfect because nothing ever is. But if it's to a point where you're not wearing the item because of something that you could easily fix, you should just take the time to fix it. So I should add length to that sweater as well. I'll do that sometime. So now we are moving on to works in progress, and I have 2, 3-ish. Kind of. I'll show you the ish one first, because this is a project that will 100% be frogged. Which is sad, because I spent a lot of time on it. But yeah, this is... And the thing with this is I have all this yarn that I bought for a shifty by Andrea Mowry. I've talked about this before. I even showed you the yarn and I was so excited. I started it like the shifty. I started the shifty. I messed up the short rows, so they were not nice. But I was like, nobody's gonna know. I just kept going into the yoke, and I was doing the yoke, and I was like, I'm not feeling this color combination. Because what I did, I think, is that my main color, first of all, it's not really a color that I usually go for. It's this green. From Fru Valborg. This is their merino swirl in the color Biotope. And it is a very nice colorway, but green, I don't think I have any clothing item that is green in my wardrobe, to be honest. It's not really my color, and I don't know why. I think it could be, but I don't know why. So that's like problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that I think my like contrasting colors were not high enough contrast, so it wasn't really showing off. It wasn't giving the shifty vibe that I was going for, which was annoying me because I was knitting on it and I was like, I'm not going to use this sweater, I don't think, because it's just turning out green and it kind of looks messy because you can't really see that there's a pattern going on. You can just see that there's a lot of like color shifting. I was not happy with it, so I frogged it. I did mess up the short rows as well, so I just frogged it. And I decided that I wasn't going to make a shifty with that yarn because I want the shifty and I want it to be one of my favorite sweaters because it is a gorgeous pattern, but I didn't feel like the yarns were doing the pattern justice. And also, all the yarns that I got for this project are superwash, which is not my favorite yarn to knit with. And I just felt like there were a lot of negatives working against me on the shifty. So I decided to do something else. So with the yarn, I casted on Andrea Mowry's Pink Fizz. Is that what it's called? Pink Fizz? And I took my green main color as the main color, and I took the contrasting color that I had that was like highest contrast from the green to try to make it look nice. And I almost finished the yoke. Like, at least I almost finished the color work. So this is what it looks like. And I'm not really happy with this either. I don't like how it looks because you can't really see the pattern. And it's making me frustrated. But I was like, okay, I'll power through. Maybe it'll look nice when I'm done with the color work and I just do the green and you can at least see that there's something going on. But then I tried this on. And I'm not kidding you, it's so big. Like, I'll show you. I'm gonna frog this. I decided, so I'll show you what I mean. What's the front? What's the back? I don't even know. Where's my beginning of round? Here. So, the neck hole of the sweater is huge. And it's not in the pictures. And I did do the size that was supposed to be like my size, but the neck hole is huge. And I did the ribbing for the neckband longer than the pattern suggested because I didn't want a wide neckline. But this is crazy. This will show my bra straps like 100% on both sides, I think. And I just know, trying to see myself, I just know that I won't wear this sweater because of this situation. And I could probably try to fix that, but it's so wide and I'm not really happy with the colors. And honestly, I'm just gonna frog it, and then this yarn is gonna be hanging out in my stash for a while I try to figure out what to do with it. I'm actually contemplating like selling it because it's a lot of nice yarns. It's like La Bien May, it's Spin Cycle, it's Fru Valborg, which is a Swedish brand that's kind of known here for like hand-dyed yarns. It's Madeline Tosh. It's a lot of nice brands and the colors are beautiful. I just don't feel like they go together. And I'm not sure that I will appreciate them enough because I know that they're all like fingering to sport weight, which is not my favorite because I'm such a loose knitter. So if I do like a fingering sweater, I'll have to do it on like 2 millimeters. And they're also all superwash. So I don't know. I just feel like I need to sit on that for a while and then I might actually sell the yarn. We'll see what happens. I have 2 more works in progress that I will show you if I can find them. I'll start with this one because it was at the top. This is the Eclair raglan by Laura Penrose. And I will try not to lose all of my stitches while I show you this. I have just split for sleeves. This is the back. Da, 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 da. And I love it so far. It's gorgeous. And funny story, I actually, when I finished this sweater, I had some yarn left. Kind of a lot of yarn left because for some reason I misplaced the majority of the yarn for this sweater. So when I was knitting it, I was like, I'm running out of yarn. How can I be running out of yarn? And it was like in the yoke still. And I was like, I have to have bought more yarn. I couldn't find it. And I was like, okay, maybe I didn't. I just went to my yarn store. I got the rest of the yarn that I needed for the sweater, got home, and then I found the yarn that I had already bought for the sweater. So when I finished this, I had a lot of yarn left. And my yarn store does this thing where if you keep your receipt, you can, within 4 months, swap the yarn for a different yarn. So if you bring the yarn back, it's in nice condition, and you have your receipt, and it's not been 4 months since you bought it, then you can just swap it for a different yarn. So that's what I was doing with the leftover yarn from this. I went to my yarn store, I was gonna swap it. I went there thinking, you're gonna get a summer yarn, because you're never knitting summer sweaters, you have 2. You have 1 million winter sweaters. So you need to be knitting something summery because it's summer and it's too warm to be knitting with wool. And I left with a sweater's quantity of Sandnes Garn's Tweed recycled, which is, I think, a merino cashmere blend. So not a summer yarn. Like the second I came into the store, it was right by the counter and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. And I just couldn't resist it. And I have been thinking about the Eclair raglan by Laura Penrose since it came out. There's also a version that has like bubbles. It's not my style. I think it's gorgeous, but I don't think that I could pull it off. So I'm doing the version without. The original version has a turtleneck. I'm not a turtleneck person, so I'm just doing a folded collar. It is a little bit wide, but I think an elastic will solve that problem because it's not really wide like with the pink fizz that I just showed you. Just, it was designed to be turtleneck, and you can kind of tell, I feel. So I will put an elastic into the neckline and that will solve the problem. But this one was a challenge, to be honest. I started this sweater and I had no idea, like the first part of the sweater is knit flat while doing the cabling, and I just could not wrap my head around it. I was like messing up, couldn't figure out. You were following 3 different charts at the same time and they were labeled like ABC, but you weren't doing them in the ABC order. You were doing like ACB, and then on the next round you were doing BCA. And it does make sense when you finally get it why you have to switch the charts around, because you're knitting back and forth. So obviously if this is A is not gonna be the start of the round every time, since the next time you're starting from over here, you're going back. But I was tired when I started this and I just could not wrap my head around it. Kept messing up and it looked horrible. I was not enjoying it. I was like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to do this sweater. I frogged it, put it away. The next night I was not as tired and I was like, I'm gonna try again. And I will try to see why I'm doing it this way, because there has to be a point to it. And when I finally figured that out, that it's basically the short rows for the neck that you are doing back and forth, and then you join in the round and you already have the short rows there, then I was like, okay, I can do this. And I went with my markers to like mark which section of the knitting that was like which chart and stuff. I could do it. So I did those. I will not lie, those 4 first rows was also kind of a lot of rows, but that first section that's knit flat, it was a bit of a challenge for me, mostly because I was tired and it felt like I expected to just sit down, cast on and do the neck, like the ribbing, and I was like straight into cabling back and forth flat. And yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but as soon as I finished that and I was joining the round, it's so easy, this pattern to follow. And the charts, there are charts that you're supposed to look at, but at this point you don't really have to. You have it all memorized. So yeah, I finished this. I think this is like 3 nights of knitting. I have the yoke, split for sleeves, and you also have to like go back and pick up stitches for the neckline, which is not my favorite construction, because I always feel like it doesn't get as neat as it could be, and that's all me, obviously, but it's not my favorite. But I did that because I feel like the sweater looks a lot nicer when you have the neckband. And this is also going to be very cropped, so I don't have a lot of like knitting left. I do maybe like 12 centimeters of body and then ribbing, and then we're on to the sleeves. But I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying the way it looks. And the Tweed recycled is very nice to work with, and it's gorgeous. It's the first time I'm working with the Tweed yarn, and I like that it's kind of a subtle Tweed look. So I'm very happy with this. And I am knitting this on, I never tell you, 3mm needles in these Tweed recycled. I don't know the color, I'll write it in the description. Yes, my next work in progress is at the bottom of this bag, and I will try to pull it out without ruining it for you. It's right here. This is, I don't have a pattern for this, I'm just knitting it. This is a sweater for Iris, my daughter. And it's just a super, it's so all wrinkly because it's been in this bag. Super basic, top-down raglan with a folded collar, with a 2-stitch or 3-stitch? 3-stitch raglan. Going down there, I am working on the first sleeve, and then I'll do the second sleeve, and then we'll be finished. I'm doing this in the I should have checked. I don't know the brand. Schoppel? Is it Schoppel? Edition 3 yarn. Which is this, it kind of looks like Spin Cycle, but it's a lot cheaper. And this is a superwash yarn, 100% merino, which is giving this really nice stripy faded look thing, and I'm really enjoying it. I think this is beautiful, and I knit this like in 2 days. It was so fast. Basically, I almost knit the entire body at knit night because it was so fast. But I will do the sleeves. I just got distracted by by my Eclair sweater, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's hard when you're doing baby knits. Oh no, I'm losing stitches. Hang on. It's also, since it's a superwash yarn, the second you lose stitches, they go like bloop bloop bloop, and then they're gone. Oh no. Stop going. What was I saying? Oh yeah, sizing. I think when you're knitting a baby sweater without a pattern, I feel like the sizing is kind of hard because I want this to fit Iris this winter. I want it to be like the size 2 to 3 years or something like that, 2 to 2.5 at least. I want her to wear this from like November until next spring. And it's so hard to know what size to do. Like when you don't have a size to follow and you're like, is this big enough? So what I've been doing is that I have been measuring it on, like comparing it to sweaters that she has that she's wearing now, just trying to make it a little bit bigger than them. But we'll see. If it doesn't fit, then there's another baby on the way, so maybe that baby can wear it at some point. Oh, I have one with the tag left. Yeah, it is Schoppel, edition 3. The color is 2362. Yeah, it's a very nice yarn to work with. I am really enjoying it. So those are all my works in progress. Those are my finished objects. I do have one more thing to show you before we end this episode, and that is a little swatch. Like I told you, designing this little sweater has opened a door in my head. And I got, oh, I should have brought it. It's way over there. I got the Vogue Knitting Ultimate Stitch Dictionary as part of my like graduation present from Simon, which was amazing. And I was flicking through that and I was getting inspired. So I made a little swatch for a new idea that I have. And I am very excited about it. So basically what I did is, there's a lot of sections to the swatch. So if I show it to you like this and it's not blocked as well, it looks crazy. So I played around with like kind of stripes, but not really. So you can see there at the top, I played around with some purling, which I did not like. I started doing the stripy thing, but with like wider floats. I didn't like. And then I was like, okay, so this is what I landed on. I really liked this upper section here with the 2 blue stripes. I really liked how that looked. So it's like, okay, could that be raglan? So I then played around with that. I will show you. First I did it like a 2-stitch raglan, and then I tried it as a 3-stitch raglan, and honestly I think it could work. My tension was a bit off here, so it's a bit bunched. I don't know how to show you this. I feel like it could work as a raglan, but what I really feel like it's telling me, if I look at this like upper section here that I really enjoyed, is that it wants to be a round yoke, a circular yoke. And I've knit like one of those before. The pink fizz that I'm gonna frog is a circular yoke, so 1.5-ish. So it feels a bit daunting to attempt designing a circular yoke, but I feel like that is what this sweater wants to be. So I will sit on this swatch for a bit, but I do really like this section. The top section is making me really happy. I like how it looks. It's kind of stripy, but not really. It's a little bit more interesting, and I do like this color combination. It felt a bit bold when I went for it, but I like it. I made this in Filcolana Pernilla, which is not a yarn I've used before because I was afraid that it was gonna be too rustic. It's I think it's Peruvian Highland wool, right? But I really like it so far. So if you forget about all that mess and you just look at this section, it looks kind of cool, right? I think there could be something there, and I will finish the Eclair, that is the rule, and the baby sweater for Iris, and then I will attempt a circular yoke, I think, because I feel like that's what this wants to be. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. That will not happen right now, but eventually. So those are all the things that I had to tell you today, and I don't have any acquisitions to show you apart from the Tweed recycled that you already saw. And I did buy like 1 skein each for the swatch, but that's it when it comes to acquisitions. I should have brought down my beautiful Vogue knitting book to show you, but I didn't, and I need to share to get it, and I'm too lazy, so won't do that. But I hope you have a great day, and I will see you when I see you. Bye!